Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of AndrewsFootball.com. This is my video breaking down the Green Bay Packers before preseason starts. If you're new to my channel, there's this little great button right over here. Go ahead and hit that and subscribe. Guaranteed to make all your wildest dreams come true. Here's how my videos work. I break down what I like, then I break down what I don't like, but stick around to the end where I break down the Vegas over-under and if you should put action on the Green Bay Packers. Now, normally I try to wear team colors. I don't own anything orange. So my last video, I just wore a black t-shirt when I did the Bengals. This is the closest thing I got. This green shirt right here, I didn't even know I owned it. I don't know where I got it. It's got this weird design. I think it's a band or something. I have no idea how I got this shirt. So yellow and gold's the closest thing you're going to get, Packers fans. I don't own any gold. I'm sorry. So let's just break down what I like here. Aaron Rodgers. Now, I've been a Chiefs season ticket holder since 1989. That's 30 years of going to Chiefs games. I am probably the biggest Chiefs fan you'll ever meet. Case in point, 2012 when they won 12-14 before Andy Reid, I was at every single home Chiefs game, including the freezing cold one. And it was cold and windy. Wind's the thing here. When 20 degrees or even 0 degrees with no wind, I'm fine. You get 20 with like a 20-mile-an-hour wind, you're cold. I don't care what you wear, unless you got like a shield or something. But case in point, I know there's a lot of people that are Chiefs fans that follow me, and they're going to hate this, but if I had to choose one quarterback to win a game in 2019 or to have a game-winning drive down by 5, 2 minutes left, no timeouts, it's Aaron Rodgers. And now, Chiefs fans, before you say, what about Patrick Mahomes? I love Mahomes, don't get me wrong. I'm super excited. He won MVP, should have won MVP. If you had to give me a quarterback for 2019, give me Mahomes. The upside's much better. But if I had to choose a quarterback to win one game, give me healthy Aaron Rodgers. I've been a diehard football fan since the 81 playoff game between the Chargers and the Dolphins. If you haven't seen it, go back, Google it. Anyway, made me a football fan for life. I don't follow baseball. I don't follow basketball. I don't follow hockey. I don't follow bowling. I just follow football. And I follow all things football. I follow old-time football, new-time football. I can watch games from the 60s and 70s. I will swear up and down Johnny Unitas is the greatest quarterback that ever lived. That said, Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback I've ever seen play. When he's at his best, he's the best quarterback I've ever seen. He can do no wrong. He's an above-average athlete. He's got powerful arm. He can do everything. I swear to God, there's been games where he's completed every single pass on the run, doing all sorts of crazy stuff. The 60-yard bomb to win the game in the Silverdome against the Lions. I think that was, what was that, 2018, Rodgers to Rodgers. I mean, I love watching Aaron Rodgers play. So Chiefs fans, get mad at me if you want, but a healthy Aaron Rodgers for one game in 2019, he would be my number one choice. So, yeah, arguably the best quarterback in football. Packers fans. Second thing I like about the Green Bay Packers is the new direction that they're going in. You got, I'm probably going to butcher the name, but Gutkins. I am so sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but your new general manager, what he did this season is a little different than what they've done in the past. In the past, they've always done the same thing. As you had Ted Thompson since 2005. It's an old school method. You just build through the draft. You build up your own, and you don't really play around in free agency that much. But last time you played around in free agency and signed a big name free agent like you did this season, you got Reggie White and won the Super Bowl. So what they're doing is they're now using the draft because they have 10 draft picks, if I'm correct. I'm sorry, eight draft picks. My bad. But and 2 in the first round. So you're still building through the draft, but now you're adding free agents along with that. I really like that because last time they did that, they got Reggie White. They won a Super Bowl, so it does work. I also like the new head coach that they brought in. Keep in mind, you got Matt LaFleur. He's a former quarterbacks coach. He was an offensive coordinator in L.A., and then last year in Tennessee, he worked for Sean McVay as a quarterbacks coach in Washington when McVay was the offensive coordinator. Head coach is Mike Shanahan. So I really like this because he worked for a Hall of Fame head coach in Mike Shanahan. Okay, I know he's not in the Hall of Fame, but he will be in the Hall of Fame, and he should be in the Hall of Fame. So I'm going to call him a Hall of Fame head coach. So bottom line, he worked for Mike Shanahan. And right now, if you are a driver, if you're an Uber driver for Sean McVay, you have a chance to be an NFL head coach. That is how hot Sean McVay is right now. Because basically, matter of fact, I did a video on the Bengals. Zach Taylor was the quarterback's coach for McVay. He's now an NFL head coach, so former offensive coordinator who was with rookie head coach Mike Vrabel last year. So even though he's a rookie head coach, he worked for a rookie head coach last year. He worked for a future Hall of Fame head coach and Mike Shanahan, plus he worked for Sean McVay. And by the way, when Sean McVay took over as head coach of the Rams, the first thing he did was bring on his former quarterback's coach to run the offense. So bottom line, you got Sean McVay endorsement on this guy. So I think that's really great, really cool. So I said direction. I'm going to break this down into 3 points here. First was the GM, who's now building the team through the draft, but now free agency as well. A new young head coach, which I think is a great hire because you had a veteran coach. Now you bring in a new energized offensive coordinator, a guy with a brilliant offensive mind. And the third thing with the direction is you kept the defensive coordinator, Mike Pettine, from last year. You didn't get rid of him, which I thought was good because you're keeping continuity. So that's smart because what you're doing is you're adding a new, fresh infuse of energy into your team, but you're keeping the defensive coordinator. But what I really like is that you keep your defensive coordinator. You had $100 million in pass rushers with Smith's brothers. Now, they're not really brothers, but they're both named Smith, so I thought it was kind of cool. Plus, you used the first 2 picks in the draft, both first-round picks, to help out your defense. So bottom line is you got defensive help in free agency, and you also kept continuity on the defense, plus you give them 2 draft picks while you bring in a young new offensive mind. And now keep in mind, this is something that's kind of interesting, is the Packers' top 4 players in salary cap equal 32.59% of the salary cap. Those 4 players are Aaron Rodgers, David Bakhtiari, hopefully I'm pronouncing this right. David Bakhtiari, the left tackle, Jimmy Graham, and Devontae Adams. 4 offensive players equal 1/3 of the salary cap. So Mike Pettine needed some help. So you spent some money on free agency. You used your top 2 first-round picks to help out your defensive coach. So I really like that. So kind of to recap here, what I like is that you have an offensive-minded coach building the team around the offense. Aaron Rodgers, maybe the best quarterback in football. I think he's the best quarterback in football. You're now building your team through free agency, just like you did when you won the Super Bowl, when you built it through draft picks, and then you added Reggie White. You're not going out and getting 10 new free agents. You're still building your team primarily through the draft, but you're just adding a few free agents. You got the Smith brothers. So I like the fact that you also kept some continuity with your defensive-minded, with your former defensive coordinator. You got him some defensive help through free agency and the draft. I really like that. So now what I don't like, I didn't like the draft. Rashan Gary at 12, okay? I love 12. It's a great value. I had him graded as a top 10 player. For those of you that don't know, Rashan Gary is the number 1 player coming out of high school. This guy played a 5 technique in a 3-4 defense, so his primary job was to stuff the run, occupy blockers, but at the combine he ran a 4.61, being about 280 pounds. I think he did 32 reps on the bench press, so extremely strong. But he didn't have a lot of production as far as a pass rusher. Didn't have a lot of sacks. But here's the thing: that's not really what he was asked to do. They kind of put him in a position to be a run stuffer. So a lot of people are like, he didn't have good production. He did. It just didn't show up in sack numbers. So what you're doing is that you draft him and you're going to play him an outside linebacker. Okay, I'm not. Here's the thing: the outside linebacker position, doesn't really make sense. Dan, why doesn't this make sense to you? Well, I got 100 million reasons why. You spent 100 million in free agents on the Smith brothers, who are your new starting outside linebackers. So you draft a player at 12, and you're making him an outside linebacker, even though he never played outside linebacker before. When you're picking at number 12, you don't draft a project. Here's the thing that doesn't make any sense. Why not put him at the other 5 technique next to Mike Daniels. I was going to say Mike Pettin, but put him next to Mike Daniels and Kenny Clark. Why not do that? That to me makes sense. You're drafting a player at 12, have him be an impact player. Instead, you're drafting him and then you're calling him an outside linebacker where you already spent $100 million at outside linebacker. You're drafting a player who's not even going to start, and then you're asking him to play something completely different. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And the other thing, and I really hate to say this, I didn't like the Savage pick. I didn't have Savage. I didn't have a first-round grade on Savage. And you traded up to get him. You gave up 2 fourth-round picks. You gave up the 114th and 118th pick plus the 30th pick in the draft. You could have had him at 30. Now, keep in mind, there's no possible way I can sit here and tell you that they could have had him at 30, but most teams didn't have a first-round grade on him. Now, keep in mind, if you could do some magic time warp and have them go in a different direction and some other team, okay, now I'll eat my words. But bottom line, I didn't have them going in the first round. So you trade up to get a player that I didn't have ranked in the first round that you could have got later in the draft. Here's another thing is, why are the Green Bay Packers taking another defensive back? Okay, let's go back in time. 2015, first and second round pick, defensive back. 2017, the first pick in the second round for Kevin King, defensive back. Second round pick, Josh Jones. 2018, Bottom line, 2 corners chosen in the first round again. So basically, including this draft, the last 5 draft picks in the first round or in the second round, you got 7. Do I have enough fingers here? 7 defensive backs. And you also signed Adrian Amos in free agency. I think you could have gone in another direction, which brings on the other thing that I don't like is, why not give Aaron Rodgers some help? Look, I know you got tight end in the 3rd round, but if you're trading up to 21, Noah Fant was available at 20. Why not trade at 19 to get Noah Fant? Jimmy Graham, now I mentioned he was a part of the 4 players that are taking up a 30-year salary cap. Here's a guy that's taking up, his cap hit, $12.666 million. 12 and 2/3 millions here. 55 catches, 636 yards, 2 touchdowns. Is that worth it? Is that worth over $12 million? You could have got Noah Fant. That would have been a guy who can help you out right away. Instead, you got a project at pick and a guy who didn't belong in the first round at 21. You could have, I know people are high on Aaron Jones. Josh Jacobs, he was available at 24. You're going to trade up, take Josh Jacobs. He's your starting running back. I know people are high on Aaron Jones, but are you really going to tell me if it's choosing Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs, you're not going to take Jacobs? I mean, here's some numbers for you here. Davante Adams had 169 targets last year. Second most on the team is Jimmy Graham with 89. So let's say I'm playing against Green Bay and I'm the defensive coordinator. I'm putting 3 people on Davante Adams, and I'm saying, please don't run against me. You got Aaron Rodgers. Go ahead, run against me every play. I don't care. I'm not going to put 8 in the box. I mean, I'll put 5 in a box. I don't care. These running backs don't scare me. I'm going to put 3 people on Davante Adams. Who else you throwing to? So, here's the thing. You got Aaron Rodgers at 35. You're in win now mode, and get him some help. So just kind of recap what I don't like. You're in win now mode, and then at 12 you draft a project, and then at 21 you trade up for a player I think you could have got later in the draft. Let's say you love the guy, but you could trade it down, you probably couldn't trade it down. But let's say you could have got him at 30. I didn't have him a first round player, but you get him at 30, I'm not complaining. You trade up to 21, I didn't like the move. And then you picked a player, a defensive back, when you've been drafting defensive backs over and over again. You didn't get any help for Rodgers or Davante Adams. So that's kind of what I don't like about the Green Bay Packers. Now, I told you to stick around to the end where I was going to talk about the over-under for Vegas and if you should put action down on the Packers. Number one, the Green Bay Packers to me are a total coin flip. Okay, they could be 6-10, they could be 12-4. Here's the thing about the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers is 35. He started the last game of the season, but he got knocked out in the first quarter, and Green Bay got shut out. So here's what you got to ask yourself. Do you believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to be healthy for 16 games? And when I say healthy, not just start, but be healthy Aaron Rodgers. If the answer is yes, then definitely take the over, because the over-under is 9. And over is even money. Under 9 is negative 120, which actions on the under. Basically, you have to wager $120 to win 100. So if you think Aaron Rodgers is going to be healthy and play at Aaron Rodgers level for 16 games, take the over. That's a no-brainer. Keep in mind, you take Aaron Rodgers away from this team. Last year it's a 4-win team. They're 6-9-1, and he wasn't really healthy the whole year. Joe Philbin had a chance to be the new head coach, but Rodgers got hurt and he ended up with a 0. So you can't hire an offensive coordinator, get shut out. Some other interesting numbers to make the playoffs. If you bet on Green Bay to make the playoffs, it's yes, negative 105, meaning you have to bet 105 to win 100. But if you say Green Bay will not make the playoffs, it's negative 115, meaning you have to wager 115 to win 100. But what's also interesting is another statistic. To win the division, the Bears are plus 175, meaning that you wager 100, you win 175. But both Green Bay and Minnesota are plus 200. So basically, it kind of looks like what they're saying is that Vegas is saying Green Bay is an 8-9 win team. Why not 8-7-1? They were 6-9-1 last year. Why not get another tie this year? So to be very clear, I would avoid betting on the Green Bay Packers like the plague, because I would not want to bet against Aaron Rodgers, who I think is the best quarterback in football when healthy. But I would not bet on him to stay healthy for 16 games, because he's 35 and he's not an Iron Man. I mean, he's a guy who's had injuries in the past. He's a guy who's battled through injuries and not been the same player. This is a team that has a good number one wide receiver. They don't have anything else. The defense last year was below average. How are they going to be with 2 draft picks and the Smith brothers at free agency? The answer is I really don't know. I always tell you that, hey, would I do the over-under? I would actually bet the under, but I would not bet against Aaron Rodgers. So if I had to bet on the Packers, I would take the under, but keep in mind, I'm avoiding this team like the plague. So listen, if you're a subscriber to Andrews Football, you already know you're one of the greatest people on planet Earth. All your wildest dreams are going to come true. Check out some of my content. I got some really awesome playlists. I got some really great stuff. So take a look at some of the stuff I got right here. And of course, if you haven't already, look down here. Take a look. Look. Bam! Hit that button. Become one of the greatest people on planet Earth. Have a great weekend. Monday, I'm coming out with a great video. I'm breaking down the Miami Dolphins, so I'll see you Monday.